Welcome, everybody, to Mary Giuliani Live. I am so thrilled you're here tonight. I have a wonderful guest by the name of Jill Lublin, and Jill is a master publicity strategist and is a best-selling author of 4 books, and I'm so thrilled to have her tonight. I met her over 10 years ago at a seminar, and I've seen her career just take off, and so she's here to share her new book, The Profit of Kindness, which is an amazing concept of bringing kindness and success in business together. And so we're going to be talking about that. But before we go into talking with Jill, I just want to always share with everyone what the purpose of the show is. This is all about the conversation of transformation. And so if you're in a place in your life where you want to increase your level of happiness, your level of feeling like you're being true to yourself, if you're wanting to have your own business or really go in a different direction possibly with your career or your relationships, this is the place to be, because that's what we're talking about every single week. I interview guests that are really going for it in their lives and that are also willing to share some of the struggles that they've had as well, since we've all had struggles, and sometimes it's easy to think that if somebody's really successful that there's no way you could be like them because they're so together. But let's face it, we all have had our struggles, and that's why this show is so great. You get to see what everyone else is up to. For the people that are live on Facebook, I want to mention that if you wouldn't mind sharing the show while it's live to your feed, it will help Jill's message get out there to that many more people and help them really learn how to implement the strategies of the profit of kindness. Anyway, I'm not sure if I said it right, but whatever. Anyway, also, if you're on Facebook Live, if you want to ask Jill questions, because we do field live questions, make sure you go to marygiuliani.net, watch live, and there's a chat box right beneath the live stream there that you can actually type in your questions, and we'll be fielding questions throughout the show. The other thing I like to mention is if you want to know who the guests are that are coming up, every week I send out an email to my email list, so make sure you get on my email list, go to Mary Giuliani, watch live, and actually just go to marygiuliani.net to the newsletter and sign up there. And also, if you would like to have any of your questions answered from a coaching standpoint, we do like to go over one question a week, and just email me at mary@marygiuliani.live. .net, excuse me. Okay, let's see, what else? I think I've gone over all my questions or just announcements and everything. So without further ado, Jill Lublin, like I said, is a 4-time best-selling author, a master publicity strategist, and she's really the real deal. And I'm just so excited to have her on the show. And so without further ado, let's cut to Jill. Hi, Jill. How you doing?
Hey, good to see you, Mary.
It's so good to see you, too. My goodness. The last time, like I said, it was in Orange County at the Entrepreneurial Edge, and with just some great people. So, you know, it's just so wonderful watching you and your career take off over the past 10 years. So before we get into your book and everything, I always just like to ask my guests, what actually got you on the path of getting into the public relations world? Like, what inspired you to even go into this world?
Well, interestingly enough, I actually wanted to be an attorney, and I started in law school and got sick like 5 times that year, and I thought, all right, God, this is your way of telling me get out, you know, because I have a highly creative mind, and being an attorney probably would have not been the right path for me. And and it was interesting because I always wanted to do that. However, when I got to law school, honestly, I was a little bored. So what I ended up doing was working for a major music business attorney, and that got me into the music business, which started my path in public relations. That's really where it started. So, so first in law school, then to the music business, and literally in the music business for 5 years as director of promotion and publicity at independent record labels.
Oh my goodness! So it was sort of a circuitous path, and you know, it wasn't like your initial intention, but then, like so many people, it took you to a path that you really, sounds like you really enjoyed, and decided to start your own firm or company, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And then I started my own PR firm, And then I got tapped on the shoulder to write my first book, Guerrilla Publicity, and from there I started speaking and training in the topics of PR and networking, and it just kind of kept going, and here we are at Kindness.
Yes, exactly. Wow. Well, you know, I read your book and I was so inspired by what you went through and what inspired you to write this book, because you had a really unfortunate thing happen and that sort of laid you up in for many months. Would you mind sharing with our viewers?
Absolutely, but before I do that, I just got to show you the heart on this cover. I love that.
Course.
Because I'm all about love, right? Isn't that beautiful?
It's absolutely beautiful. Yes, and I love how you, like I said, bring the whole profit of, like you're bringing that you can have kindness and be successful and generate abundance. So I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
and, you know, I'm always looking at things from a PR perspective, too. Like, you know, people will go, well, Joe, why'd you write a book on kindness? Kind companies get more PR. That's the bottom line. And, and very much are helped. And then, yes, how this book got inspired was through one of my own coaches. I'm a big believer in coaching, and I think it's really important in one's life. And so I had an accident happen that I actually fell over, literally, and fractured both ankles in multiple places while I was on the way to a speaking engagement in Canada. So there I am in Canada, totally, you know, not able to walk, had to go to a hospital, had to get all my Canadian, I was actually there teaching publicity, and thank you, God, I had some fans there and friends and people who just helped me, you know, took me to the hospital, and all that was kindness, by the way. And then I finally made it home. Actually, United Airlines wouldn't let me on the plane for a little bit of time, and finally was able to make it home and get treatment that I needed here, and ended up in a wheelchair for 5 months. And then rehab for like a year. Yeah. And I called my coach and I said, you know, Mark, I can't continue coaching. I can't afford it. You know, I've got a major accident that's disabled me to, you know, I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything. My income's all affected. And he, in his amazing grace, said, don't you even worry about it. It doesn't matter.
Wow.
I'm going to get you back on your feet. We're going to help you get your business straight and get going again. So that was many years ago, and I'm still coaching with him, and I'm still loyal to him, and he appeared in my book. And, you know, I talk about this story. Now, you know, that's the power of kindness, is that it continues and continues. And we all know when somebody's kind, how that makes our heart feel, how that makes our spirit expand.
Absolutely. Wow. And were you just blown away that he was willing to just coach you at, you know, no charge for that time? I mean,
yeah, totally. I mean, I cried. He's always been that way in my life, just a supporter and, you know, you can do it kind of girl, and just really behind me, so to speak, and in front of me. And I've always been very, very grateful for his connection in my life and our connection. His coaching is brilliant, but certainly, you know, he's a business person. I didn't expect that in the least, but that power of kindness and the profit of kindness, what happened is by doing that, right? By doing that, what happened was our relationship kept going. And the truth is he's made tremendous profits from working with me, and I'm a great referral partner, which gets him more profit. So it's all good, right?
Absolutely. Well, so what I noticed in the book was that you came up with like 7 like areas that are like related to the profit of kindness. And so you kind of, and I actually went through like, well, first of all, you had mentioned, I'm sorry, I'm looking away here, but I want to get this right. There was a book called How to Be Alive, A Guide to the Kind of Happiness That Helps the World. And I looked up that book by Colin, I had it right here. Oh, here it is. How to Be Alive by Colin Beavan, and you talk about how, you know, that we need to come from the place of speaking from love instead of fear and anger. And anyway, so I was really kind of inspired by that, just the whole focus of coming from a place of really love and kindness versus fear and what's wrong and that sort of thing. So Yeah.
You know, and it takes constant vigilance and watching oneself, right? As I wrote
Right.
different chapters, like what you're talking about, I call them rocks. You know, most people are concerned about ROI. In Profit
Mhm.
of Kindness, we talk about return on kindness. So they're called rocks,
Yes.
ROK.
Yes.
And we have multiple rocks, 7 of them actually, which is the sevenfold pathway to kindness. One of which is an example, patience. And I remember
Yes.
when I was writing the chapter on patience, everything came up to test my patience. It was
Yes.
fabulous. And of course, you know, that's always in life, right? But there's
Yeah.
constant opportunities to practice kindness every day,
Absolutely.
every day.
Well, with patience, the notes that I had that I wanted to ask you about is, well, it was interesting. It's tied with anger, right? I mean, when we get angry, if we become super impatient, we get angry, right? A lot of times.
Yes,
And so,
yes.
and that's why, really being cautious about hitting the send button on the emails that you're going to send and that sort of thing. So, anything more
That's
you
one of
want
my
to?
big things. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. That is one of my big things is don't send that email. In fact, don't even
Yes.
respond. Just
Yeah.
wait. Don't send that text. You know,
Right.
so one of the things is watch reaction. And I think that's
Yes.
really important. Watch reactivity, reaction, and particularly
Right.
if you're aggravated, that's the time to zip the lip and not
Right.
actually even say anything. So that's, I think,
Absolutely.
really important. And you know, if you do lose it, I think it's important to come back and say you're sorry. You know, I
Yeah.
have to tell you, I was on this cruise recently, and this woman was at the desk of the spa department, and I had just come from this lovely relaxation, and she's like losing it. Obviously,
Mhm.
was very upset about something that happened, and I tried not to tune in too much because I was all
Right.
relaxed. But what I did hear that I thought was a brilliant example of kindness, because see, kindness doesn't mean weakness. It's
Right.
sometimes setting firm boundaries. It's saying
Right.
what, you know, what's true for you, but delivered kindly. And the woman behind the desk, after being yelled at for, I'm sure, too long of a time, she looked at her and
Mhm.
she said, listen, I really want to help you. And I'm
Mhm.
listening to you. And I really hear you. But I need you to do
Mhm.
2 things, she says. I need you to lower your voice. Good.
Mhm.
And I'd like to ask you not to yell at me and not to talk to me in that tone. She said
Oh
it
my
very
God.
calmly. I thought it was
That is.
brilliant. I'm like, I'm going to
Oh my
take this
God.
strategy.
That's totally brilliant. I mean, because what I'm hearing you say is that she didn't get like let herself get all agitated and mirror back that agitation. She kept her calm and she kindly asked for what she needed. And
Exactly.
and yet she was also empathetic. You know what I mean? I want to hear what you say. I want to be here for you, but here's what I need. And I think that's
Right.
brilliant.
To help you.
So,
And really nicely done. And especially because it was clear that she was affecting the whole area.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I thought that's brilliant strategy, everybody. I love that. I hear what you're saying. I really want to help you.
Yeah.
Please. And then tell them what you need. In her case,
Absolutely.
lower
I
her
love that.
voice and please don't yell at her.
Well, and I know for me, when I'm triggered by an email or a voicemail or something, I know if I respond, even if I think that it's diplomatic or, just not negative or whatever, if I'm still in that negative, if I'm still agitated, it's like it's the energy is going to go with it. You know what I mean? That same energy is going to bounce back, and then it's going to. In other words, I need to really wait till I'm not in a triggered space. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, oh, I know what
And
you're saying, and I think that's best.
yeah, and it's hard. It takes discipline because a lot of times when we feel wrongly accused or disrespected, I think a lot of times our ego just wants to say, well, I'll show you. I'm going to type this all in, send. And it just doesn't. It never works. So I think that's really, really key. What else did you have? I love the part that you had about under patience about self-care and using breath and meditation and nature. So why don't you say a little bit more about that?
Well, we actually go through in the book a breathing process because, of course,
Mhm.
when we are stressed, everything acts up, right? We're
Mhm.
engaged, we're on adrenaline, our system is
Mhm.
hyped up, we don't think as well. So taking breath is very, very important. And whatever, works for you, but really being conscious about your breath. I think that's really,
Right.
really a key. So that's
Right.
great. Nature. I just go out in nature. I sit on my deck. I breathe the air. I have 4 cats, right? And I take what I
Oh,
call
okay.
kitty hug. Yeah, I take kitty hug breaks. And it turns out they actually have I think it's called oh geez, I forgot that hormone that when you pet an animal.
Oh, oxytocin?
That's it.
Or is it?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oxytocin.
It's like hugging.
And it actually, yeah, exactly. So I go and I call them kitty hug breaks, and just relax and go and, find moments. And you can find them daily. If you need to go to the restroom and sit in a stall, then go do that, right? But take moments every day to breathe, to relax, to reduce stress, to find your center so that you can be more kind. I think that's really a key. And anything that works. For me, it's nature, breathing, it's my cats, it's reading, it's taking an afternoon nap. It's whatever it is needed.
Well, and this so lines up with so many personal and spiritual growth practices of mindfulness, and it's all about managing who you're being in the moment. And I love how you're bringing these principles into business, because it just totally makes sense. You know what I mean? That who you're being and the energy that you're putting out there is what is going to make or break your connection with people. So, awesome.
Yes. Well, and what we found in Profit of Kindness is that continuously companies have happier teams, more productive teams. They create more revenue. They have more prospects, more clients. If you're an entrepreneur, same thing. It doesn't matter. Your business, if you're kind, will create more prospects, more profits, you're usually happier, and being kind pays dividends every which way you go, no matter how small or big your company is. And, if I may say, just because I want to say this at the top before I forget, and that is, people talk about random acts of kindness. And Mary, I want people to practice conscious acts of kindness. Yes. Conscious acts of kindness. And that means find something, at least one a day. It's really pretty easy, kind of like taking your vitamins, right? And do something, whether it's a kind word, a smile, buy someone a Starbucks, whatever it is, right? I was actually at a trade show. I do a lot of public speaking, and I was presenting on this topic, and I actually asked people about acts of kindness. Well, there in Las Vegas, this woman stood up, and she said, I just went out on the streets because I had to go run an errand, and this homeless man, I bought him probably a week's worth of groceries at the local 7-Eleven. That was just an extension. She goes, I wasn't going to tell anyone, but you asked, so I'm going to say it. And her whole act never would have been known, but what a beautiful act of kindness, which made a huge difference in someone's life.
Absolutely. I think that is so key. Well, as far as the whole section on connection, you have a section where you talk about, Paul Lawrence talks about, we are wired to work in groups, protect and care for each other, and then also you talk about the attachment, Bobley's work about how we naturally want to connect and be attached to other people, and that's what you were just talking about a few minutes ago, is how when we're not feeling like people care about us, and that it's all about the bottom line, you're going to lose your employees or you're going to lose your clients. And so it's like you have to mix in that human connection element, or it's just not going to happen. So can you say a little bit more about that?
Well, it's interesting. In such a connected world, which we're in, we've actually become more disconnected. Listen, it's easy to send texts rather than pick up the phone. I'm guilty. We all are. I think we're fast. We're all moving very fast, especially if you're a busy, purposeful person, right? Which I think, of course, your viewers would be. And the point about being purposeful is that you have to manage your time efficiently, and that's appropriate. Right. So then the question becomes, how will you stay connected, in what manner, and when? And then, of course, when will you turn it off, right? Like, do you actually go on vacation? Do you turn off your phone at times when you go to sleep? One time I sent someone a text, I don't know, it was probably whatever, I was on a different time zone than they were, and it was probably 3 in the morning their time. And I thought, okay, no problem. You know, they'll see it when they get up. Well, she texts me back going, oh, this woke me up. And I'm sitting here thinking, why is your phone turned on right next to your bed?
Yes, exactly.
So, of course, I didn't mean to wake her up, and I felt really bad. But, you know, it's like, that's what I'm saying. Like, we would feel that we cannot get disconnected. Some people feel that way. So I think we crave connection. And interestingly enough, in this very connected world, we crave connection. And part of that, what kindness does is creates immediate connection, because all of a sudden in that moment, you feel someone's heart. You feel their spirit. They did something kind, and your own spirit is expanded. And kindness consistently expands spirit, transforms hearts, and connects people. And then you're just going to talk about it, you know. You'll talk about that kind thing someone did for you. You'll tell the story again. That way it connects you to other people, because then you're sharing your story. How wonderful is that?
It totally is. And so the question that comes to mind for me, being, you know, having a marketing background, is, so is this in place of your existing marketing sort of tasks that you do? Or in other words, like, how would you like, if, you know, you've got 40 hours a week maybe to work on your business, and so if you want to really implement being more kind, obviously you want it to come from a you know, an authentic place, but at the same time it's going to take some time. So how do you integrate, you know, existing marketing or PR strategies with the kindness, and, you know, how does somebody do that?
Well, first of all, I don't, to me, this isn't per se a strategy, although I think it needs to be a foundation, right? And so one thing is that it doesn't take time to smile at someone, right, as you're walking down the street. A prime example, it doesn't take a lot of time to buy someone coffee who's next to you, or let them get in line in front of you. Today I was in the airport. This guy came running up to me going, oh my God, my flight's leaving in 2 minutes. And I'm like, go, you know, right?
Yeah.
I'm just, it's such an easy thing. That's kind.
Okay, got it. So it doesn't have to take a time. Yeah, okay, I got it.
No, and I don't want people to be so like, okay, I'm going to be kind. I think that that could be not as authentic, although honestly, if you have to work on it a little more. I had a woman sitting next to me on the plane today. She's like, can I buy 5 of your books? Because I have 5 friends who at least need to read it and need to be more kind. But funny enough, the people who are often drawn to this book are already kind. They just want to know how to be kinder. I would just say, depending on your level of kindness, your thermometer, and of course, some days I think we are all, you know, feel kinder than others, and that's natural. But particularly in those times where maybe you don't even want to be kind, just soften the voice. Take another moment. Take that breath. Go outside before you give that reaction to somebody. Right? And so I think it's very much starts at home, and it starts with the people around you and your friends and your clients and your employees and your associates, and then keeps moving out to your, you know, your customers and then your prospects, and it just always moves out. The truth is, it's how you walk in life. And there comes a point, you know, where I don't view it as strategy, but if you're the kind of person who needs to integrate it that way, then go for it, and at least practice the one conscious act of kindness every single day. That's a good strategy.
Absolutely. Well, and what I'm hearing just from you sharing that is it's a moment-to-moment awareness, you know, just being self-aware, you know, energetically, where am I coming from right now? And if I'm not coming from a kind and compassionate place, then I need to shift myself. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And again, I just really want to stress to people, you know, because this is not about like you roll over and, you know, you always have to be Pollyanna, or being kind sometimes is also telling the truth. Like that spa woman, she was great and it was kind, but it was like, hey, you know, calm your voice down, and setting some boundaries, and even to say to people, you know, sometimes you have to say that didn't feel very kind. Sometimes it's the kindest thing you can say.
Yes.
You know, awesome. One time I had, you'll appreciate this, I was in this transformational workshop, and And there was just this guy, I don't know, he was just mean to me. What else can I say? It was just, we did not jive for whatever reason. We just didn't jive.
Right.
And we had these volleyball practices, not my favorite sport. I'm not great at it. And he was this like team leader, you got to do it this way and do it that way. And I just wasn't quite following the pattern, I don't think, that he wanted or needed. And by the way, did I mention this was a workshop, not a competitive sport? And,
right.
And he kept just saying things to me, and I just sort of let it go over my head. And, you know, that's the other thing, is you can't take it too personally, right? And just let people have their reactions. And this kept going for like another 2 days. And I finally, toward the end, I said, can I just ask you a question? Why are you so mean to me? You know, now I probably could ask that differently. And after I've written Profit of Kindness, I probably would approach it differently now. But I just had to ask him the question. You know what he said? He looked at me and goes, am I being mean? Oh, God, really? Wow. Like, he didn't get it, that he was being mean. Yeah. And that I perceived him as that, even though in his world, that was probably just fine. Yeah. So sometimes people are just not at all aware of how they're reacting.
Well, and that brings up the whole point of, like, I know for me, I didn't realize how mean I was to myself until like 10 years ago.
Wow.
You know, it's like when you live in, it's like when you're in the ocean of your own consciousness, it's like sometimes hard to see, you don't know anything differently. So I was really hard on myself, and I guess the point I'm trying to make is that I can see how other people don't see how they're being, you know, hard on other people because nobody's giving them feedback. So I think it's great you gave him feedback.
Yes, yes, and it was feedback in that moment, and I still laugh about it, and he probably does too at one level. And, you know, it's okay. We're not going to be friends. He's not my style. I'm not his style. That's fine. Right. We don't have to all be friends, but I think respectful is important. And, you know, particularly in these intense times, I think learning how to say, tell me what you feel about that. Explain that to me. And just really being a receiver as opposed to on the aggression side of life. Right,
right. The other thing you talk about in the book is gratitude and how that's part of the ROK.
Return on kindness, yes.
Yeah. Could you share a little bit more about the gratitude piece?
Absolutely. Well, you know, I think most people know how important it is to be grateful. And then the question is, how often are you saying it? To who? Are you saying it out loud? You know, sometimes I do too. I think, oh, thank you so much. And then I forgot to say it. I mean, I love writing handwritten notes now because, let's be honest, we don't get mail anymore, you know. So I love that. Like when I go speak somewhere, I will send a handwritten note to the host. I will often bring a little gift, you know, and people always go, oh, you don't need to do that, but I like it. And for me, that's, I enjoy the giving of that. And it gives me joy. I don't do it because I have to. I do it because it gives me joy. So whatever gives you joy, you know, in expressing gratitude, then do that. And for all of us, it's a little different, and it's a great thing. There's, you know, no issue, but find ways to express gratitude every single day. And to yourself also.
Absolutely. You know that you might be familiar with that book, The 5 Love Languages?
Yes.
Well, they have it for business too. So, like, in other words, in my last company, my business partner and I actually gave our staff the test to find out what their business love languages were. And it was really cool because, you know, knowing how people basically feel appreciated and loved is really key in keeping them happy. So,
well, absolutely. And I'm actually glad to know that, because after reading that book, so thank you, and I love it, my love language, one of them is gifts. Yes. And, you know, for me, it's not about expensive, it's about being thought about, right? So interestingly enough, I love gift giving because it's joyful. It's my language of love. So I'm always bringing people gifts, and they're just like, you always give me gifts? Yeah, I like it. I mean, for me, it's joyful for me. It's my language of love, one of them. So I love that, and I'm going to take that business test. I think that'll be interesting to see if it shows up the same.
Yeah, very good. What else on gratitude? Are you filling buckets or dipping from them?
Mm.
So,
Well,
so
yes.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean, right there, you just said
Yeah,
it, right? It's a
yeah.
good
It's like, are
visual.
you basically are you taking energy or are you giving energy, right? Um,
Yes.
you know what I thought was really mind blowing is the stats on 50% of employees feel underappreciated, and that's the number one reason why people are looking for other jobs or careers, or is they don't feel appreciated. And
Yeah, so I'm
yeah,
I'm taking the profit of kindness into corporate and doing a lot of training of teams, and
yes,
this is that problem that they feel
yes,
underappreciated, that they're not recognized, that
yeah,
the connection isn't there, the gratitude isn't there. One of my other return on kindness uh, pieces is flexibility, that perhaps their
yes,
employer isn't flexible enough with their schedule and what's important to them. Like you say,
right,
what's important to the employee, right?
right,
So this has been really shocking, and why I got into corporate training more so is because of that exact statistic, that these teams are
yeah,
falling apart and companies are losing great people. I have to tell you a wonderful story. I was on Fox News with Profit of Kindness and have been very blessed to be on multiple
yeah,
TV interviews. And one of the Fox News reporters, she actually picked up on this too. She said, she talked about replacing your people and
hmm,
how much it costs. And she said, to replace me would be $300,000. Think about that, though. That's the truth. And why would you want to replace a great host, And that's not just her salary, but that's the plus, plus, plus it would take to fill her position,
oh.
to lose it, all that good stuff.
Well, yeah, all of the relationships and dynamics she has with the whole team, and yeah, it's like, yeah, it's. Well, I think you even went over that in the book about it's not just the person, it's a whole collateral damage that happens when you lose people, and
Yes, a lot.
it is, and what's interesting about the whole underappreciation issue is it feels like it's tied in to me to profits over everything else kind of mentality, and I mean the whole just and that's a whole sort of cultural values issue of and do you get into that at all when you're doing training with I mean obviously you're showing the bottom line how that gets impacted when you lose people, but just like helping companies sort of reassess their values.
Exactly. Reassess their values. And wonderfully enough, in these times, kindness is working its way into mission statements, into
Oh,
annual
good.
reports. Yeah, it's wonderful. And absolutely assessing what's your value, what do you care about, why does the team care about. Very
Right.
important. Very important. And the
Wow.
answer is yes.
That's awesome. And I'm wondering if even though this whole digital age of internet and social media has made us more disconnected, on another level, there's such a transparency about everything too. So like if you go to Glassdoor, that website that tells you what it's like to work at a certain company. You know what I mean? Um, so in other words, employers can't get away with not appreciating their employees as much because their employees are going to talk about it online, and they're not going to be able to hire staff. So it is interesting how the transparency of the internet, I think, is really making companies have to up their game and really, be there for their staff as well. So that's awesome.
Yes, and frankly, serve their staff better and
Yes.
have company values that are reflecting of today's times.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly. What else was I going to ask you? You also have, compassion. How would you say compassion is a good ROK?
So, and again, in companies, right?
Right.
One of the ROKs, return on kindness. So here's a great example. I do publicity consulting. One of my clients came online and she clearly sounded stressed. She had something in her voice. I'm like, you sound stressed. Are you okay? Well, it turned out she was dealing with taxes and deadlines, and
Yeah.
she wasn't a
Yeah.
happy camper that day. And I said, you know what? I don't think today's a good day for us to do our session together. Why don't we
Yes.
rearrange it? And she said, but
Yes.
Jill, your contract says that you have to show up
Yeah.
for a session or you're charged. yes, my contract says that, but there are times, and Mary, I'm sure, we all know this,
Yes.
that it is not the best of times. And you have to
Yeah.
be flexible, another return on kindness principle, but
Right.
that was a compassionate move to say,
Absolutely.
let's move your time.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you for that story. Also, you have just empathy, listening skills, giving people the benefit of the doubt. Just these soft skills, but they're so key. And, practicing forgiveness. I think the one story you shared about the woman that forgot her passport
Yes.
in the book, and how she thought for sure she was going to get fired, and they were like, no, don't worry about it. Have your husband fly out with it. And yeah.
And they got
amazing.
the passport to her, absolutely. Or how about Panera Bread Company? I love this story. With
Oh,
the grandson.
yes.
This
Go ahead,
grandson called a New Hampshire Panera Bread store and said, my grandmother is dying and she wants clam chowder. It was Tuesday. They don't make clam chowder on Tuesday.
It's
but
a
the
Friday
woman,
thing, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The woman behind the desk who answered the phone said, we're going to make your clam chowder. And they did. And that they got, I think, latest count, and I just have to double check it, but over 300,000 likes. And because the grandson posted a story. That's all he did. He just posted the story, thought it was very sweet, showed a picture of him and his grandma, and it was very precious. Over 300,000 likes. Now, I'm always looking from a publicity standpoint. What does kindness do? How does it pay off? Do you think it paid off big for Panera Bread? Of course it did. Their profits went up, their revenues went up, their love went up from their customers, and we're still talking about it, and it's still getting shared. It's viral. Beautiful story.
Right.
Great demonstration of how kindness works in business.
I know. I love that. I love that. Oh, and the other thing you talk about, and by the way, for people that are watching, if you have any questions for Jill, please just put them in at the chat at the marygiuliani.net watch live. Right below the live stream there's a chat box. So you have another great section on positivity and how that's a really, really key ROK. So, well, you kind of already covered some of it, just smiling, looking at people when they're talking, positive leadership. Could you share a little bit more about the positive piece?
Well, number one, let's just talk about positive frame of mind, how you think, how you speak, putting things in positive language. We all know those negative downer types, that just nothing will seem to work and everything's like, and who likes to be around them, really? Or the grouch. Very draining. Yes. It's very draining. It's not fun. And guess what? If your boss is like that or your employee is like that, I was working with someone, she'd go like this, sometimes when she was all upset. I'm like, and for those only listening, I'm putting my hands at my head and, well, that's hard on me, to be with someone who's doing stuff like that. So it's just really paying attention to, I tell my people who work with me, listen, the answer is yes, and then we'll figure it out, right? And I don't want to hear no's, and I don't want to hear resistance, because it stops dreams. It stops forward movement. And I think no matter what, it's important that we apply positivity, and then if something falls apart, it falls apart, we deal with it. But certainly coming at life in a forward manner versus a halt or going backward manner. Very important, and it completely changes the day. Sometimes if I find myself just kind of like feeling a little down or whatever, I will put a smile on and change it in my voice, and it makes all the difference. Nothing actually changed, maybe with the situation, but I changed.
Right.
That's what's important. So bringing positivity to everything.
When you talk about how you can't influence anybody without positivity, like the spheres of influence and stuff too. So, I love that. And you also talk about like letting go of toxic people. So, yes. Well, I know we need to get rolling here. So do you have one thing I want to make sure that our viewers can find you, could you share with the viewers what websites they can find you at?
Absolutely, happy to, and thank you. So go to profitofkindness.com, and that's Profit, just to remind you, profitofkindness.com. Yes. And also JillLublin.com. I think you can see the spelling of my name, but JillLublin.com, and please let me know how I might help you and serve you in the area of publicity.
Okay, great. And the last thing I always like to ask my guests are, what's the message that you're most passionate about that you want to leave with our viewers tonight?
Oh boy, it's like, what aren't I passionate about? But I think the biggest thing, particularly with kindness, is that it is, for me, it's now a movement. And that it is something that each one of us can do, and that each one of us can affect small, little acts that become big ripples on the pond. And that, and you know, being a big PR expert and really being behind people's messages, I really want to underline this, and that is that your message matters. That's a key.
Oh my gosh.
Your message matters.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Jill. It's been so great connecting with you again, and definitely when you have your next book, we'd love to have you back. So with that, let's say goodbye to Jill, and it's been a great time with you. Thank you so much. All right. Okay, so wow, that was a great time with Jill there. I mean, you know, it's so cool to see someone really focusing on how to shift who you're being in terms of being in business, and how it can come from a place of just authentic contribution. It doesn't have to come from a strategy of kindness, but just really being aware of what you bring to what energy you bring when you're interacting with people. So with that, I wanted to also make a couple of announcements. I have, let's see, my coaching tip for the week is something I do every single week, and I try to line it up with the speaker. And so this week I was really inspired by Jill's reference to this book called How to Be Alive. This is just a workbook. You can actually get it for free. It's, what's this guy's name? Colin Beavan. And it's How to Be Alive, a guide to the kind of happiness that helps the world. And really what it's all about learning how to be true to yourself, and out of being true to yourself, you can help the world. And so the section that I really got turned on about that I wanted to share with you guys tonight is that, you know, we all have different goals that we're interested in going after. And the thing is that there's intrinsic goals and there's external goals. So the intrinsic goals are internal ways of being, and external goals are typically like material goals. And so the research shows that actually intrinsic goals, and the top 3 intrinsic goals that everybody really needs to feel fulfilled in their life, the first one is to be autonomous, which is to feel we are the authors of our own action. So autonomy. The second one is to be competent. So this is to feel that, you know, you have the ability to have the skills necessary to affect change in your life. And also, the third skill that's intrinsic is to feel related, to be related. And basically that means that you're able to see that what you do matters to others. So it's a connection to others thing. And so my coaching tip for the week is to take one of these top intrinsic skill or goals and choose one that you are willing to make a commitment on. So would being more autonomous help you more, or would being more competent help you to work on, or would being more connected or related, knowing that what you do makes a difference? Out of those 3, which one really needs the most support from you? And so pick one of those, again, autonomy, being competent, and relating or feeling like you make a difference, and take one action that you can implement that will help increase that intrinsic goal. And you'll be amazed what happens because, when you focus on something and you put action into it, it really does make a difference. Like, for example, I'll just give you an example of an intrinsic skill of competency for me. About a year or two ago, when I was working in another business, I needed to learn how, well, I was working on websites and video was very, very key, and I didn't know how to do video editing. And so I was not competent at that at all. And I knew that if I was going to be effective in what I was doing for this company, that I needed to learn that. And so I took a class on video editing, and now I can edit all my own videos. And so that's just a competency thing. It's about improving a skill, and it makes you feel really good about yourself. So now I can edit audio, video, websites, all kinds of things. Okay. So pick one thing, put it on your calendar so you know it will actually really happen. That's really key. Let's see, the next announcement I have is that I am a master life coach, and I love working with clients to, my specific niche is really women that are in midlife that really want to share their gift with the world before they die, There's a book that I came across called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. And the top regret is that, and this is people on their deathbed, it was written by a nurse that was in hospice care. The top regrets of the dying are that they wish they had the courage to be true to themselves instead of always doing what they thought other people wanted them to do. And so after I came across this book, it was like, there is no way I'm going to my deathbed without doing what I know that I love, and which is what I'm doing right this minute. And so my goal is to support women that are in midlife that know they have a gift, or maybe not even know exactly what it is, or may have an inkling of what it is, and help them really clarify that and get it out there and really know that at the end of their life that they did whatever they wanted to do in terms of being true to themselves and sharing their voice with the world. So if you're a woman in midlife, go to my website, which is right above me, and go to the coaching section, and you can find out about my coaching program. I only work with 3 clients, so my coaching is almost like you're hiring me as a business partner, a coach, a mentor. It's really like a full-time coaching relationship. And I also am excited to announce that I'm supporting other people in launching their own talk show or own live stream program. So if you would like to learn how to do what I'm doing, I would be happy to coach you on that as well. And you can go to my website and go to the learn how to live stream section as well. Next week, we have Susan Grau. Now, Susan Grau is a very talented, intuitive medium, and she has a near-death experience story that you definitely want to watch. And she'll be available for questions as well. And she's an amazing healer and medium, and you're going to love her. So you got to definitely make next week. By the way, I always like to mention, if you would like to subscribe to the show on iTunes, just go to iTunes and type in Mary Giuliani Live. That way it automatically downloads into your iPhone. And if you make sure you sign up on my email list so that you'll know who the guests are that are coming up. In addition, if you have any suggestions on guests or topics or questions for me, feel free to email me at mary@marygiuliani.net. And trying to think if there's anything else I have. Let me think. No, and if you have questions, make sure you use the chat here. I think with that, I think that's about it for tonight. I got to find my excuse me. This is like my 9th show, so I'm sort of new at this, but I thought I had my outro. Oh, there it is. It's right there. Okay, everybody. I want to make sure that you all choose one thing that you can be true to yourself for, and you'll be amazed what happens, and make it a great week. Bye-bye, everybody.